Question 1. What kind of movies do you often watch?
I'm mostly into psychological dramas, especially Chinese and English ones. I like them because the stories are usually quite layered and emotionally engaging, so they really keep me hooked. When I'm in the mood for something lighter, I tend to watch comedies just to relax and unwind. And every now and then, I'll watch documentaries, usually about history or science, if I feel like learning something new.
Question 2. Are movies popular in your country?
Yes, I'd say so. Movies are quite popular in my country, especially with the rise of streaming platforms like Netflix and YouTube. Since these services are relatively affordable, people can easily watch films at home, which has made movie watching much more accessible, particularly for younger audiences. I often hear people talking about the latest Korean dramas or Hollywood blockbusters, so it's clearly a common form of entertainment.
Question 3. Which was the first movie you remember watching?
I think the first film I clearly remember watching was Titanic. I saw it when I was quite young and I was completely hooked. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. What really stood out to me was how emotional it was. I remember feeling really drawn into the story and the characters. Even now, I still enjoy rewatching films like that when I want to relax or take my mind off things because they never fail to create a strong emotional impact.
Question 4. When was the last time you watched a movie?
Just last weekend, I was browsing Netflix to pass the time when I came across a trailer for a Chinese drama. It looked quite interesting, so I decided to give it a try. I ended up watching a couple of episodes and it was actually quite engaging. The storyline was quite gripping, so it kept me watching longer than I expected. I didn't finish it, but I'm planning to continue it when I have more free time.
Question 5. How often do you watch movies?
Rarely, I'd say. Instead of watching full length movies, I usually go for shorter content on YouTube, like videos or shorts about topics I'm interested in. I find that kind of content more convenient and easier to fit into my schedule, especially when I don't have much free time. So I only watch movies occasionally, usually when I have a longer break. I like to talk about a series I watched recently and really enjoyed, which is No Dam Cantabile. I rewatched a few episodes not long ago at home, just by myself. It's a Japanese drama about two music students with very different personalities. One is a talented but quite strict and ambitious pianist, while the other is more carefree and a bit messy, but naturally gifted. The story follows how they influence each other and grow both personally and musically. What I find most interesting is the contrast between the two main characters. Their personalities are completely different, but that's exactly what makes their relationship so engaging. It's not just about music, it also shows how people can change and develop when they're around the right person. I decided to watch it again because I was in the mood for something light but still meaningful. I had seen it years ago and remembered really enjoying it, so I wanted to revisit it and see how I felt about it now. I'd say I enjoyed it mainly because it's both entertaining and quite heartwarming. It has a nice balance between humor and more emotional moments, which makes it very easy to watch. Overall, it's the kind of series that leaves you feeling relaxed, but also a bit inspired, especially if you're interested in music or personal growth.
Question 1. What kinds of movies do you think are successful in your country?
I'd say big budget blockbusters tend to be the most successful, especially superhero films. A lot of people go to the cinema to watch movies like Iron Man or Spider Man. One reason is that these films are highly entertaining. They're fast paced, visually impressive, and easy to follow, which makes them appealing to a wide audience. Another factor is nostalgia. Many people grew up watching these characters, so they feel a sense of connection and are naturally interested when new films are released. As a result, these movies tend to attract large audiences and perform well at the box office. I think this shows that successful films are often those that combine entertainment with some form of emotional connection.
Question 2.
What are the factors that make a successful movie?
I think there are several factors, but the most important one is a strong and emotionally engaging storyline. That's what keeps audiences invested and interested until the end. Ideally, the story should be relatable enough to connect with viewers, but also original enough to keep them curious about what happens next. That said, even the best story won't work without good acting. The actors play a crucial role in bringing the characters to life and conveying the emotions effectively. If the performances aren't convincing, it's hard for the audience to fully engage with the film. So overall, I'd say a successful movie usually comes down to a combination of a compelling story and strong performances. Without either of these, it's unlikely to leave a lasting impression.
Question 3. Do Vietnamese people prefer to watch domestic movies or foreign movies?
I'd say many Vietnamese people tend to prefer foreign films, especially Korean and Chinese dramas. If you look at platforms like Netflix or social media, those are usually the ones that attract the most attention. One reason might be that these films often have higher production quality and more original storylines, which makes them more engaging for viewers. Personally, I also find myself watching foreign series more often than Vietnamese ones, although I wouldn't say local films are without merit. In fact, in recent years, I've heard quite a few positive reviews about Vietnamese movies. It seems that filmmakers are starting to focus more on originality and incorporate local culture and traditions, which makes their work more authentic. So, while foreign films may still dominate in terms of popularity, I think domestic movies are gradually improving and could become more competitive in the future.
Question 4. Do you think only well-known directors can create the best movies?
I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case. While well known directors often have more experience and access to larger budgets, which can help them produce high quality films, it doesn't guarantee success. In fact, many lesser known or independent directors have created outstanding movies, sometimes even more creative or original than big budget productions. One reason is that they often have more freedom to experiment rather than following commercial formulas. So I think a great film depends more on the director's vision and storytelling ability than their reputation. Well-known directors may have an advantage, but they're certainly not the only ones capable of making great movies.
Question 5. Do you think successful movies should have well-known actors or actresses in leading roles?
I don't think it's necessary for successful films to have well-known actors in leading roles. Audiences are often looking for something fresh, so introducing new faces can actually make a film feel more original and engaging. In some cases, famous actors may have a very recognizable acting style, which can make certain roles feel a bit predictable. By contrast, lesser known actors can bring a sense of novelty and surprise to the performance. That said, experienced actors still have clear advantages. With the right direction, they can deliver very strong and convincing performances, especially if they continue to develop and adapt their skills. So overall, I'd say success depends less on how famous the actors are and more on how well they fit the role and bring the character to life.
Question 6. Why do people prefer to watch movies in the cinema?
I think there are a few reasons why people prefer watching films in the cinema. One of the main ones is the overall viewing experience. Cinemas are equipped with high quality screens and sound systems, which make films much more immersive. It's also not very practical for most people to recreate that experience at home, since it would require a significant investment. Another reason is the social aspect. Going to the cinema has become a common way to spend time with friends or family, or even as a day activity. On top of that, it gives people a chance to take a break from their daily routine and fully focus on the film without distractions. So overall, I think people go to the cinema not just for the film itself, but for the whole experience.